What I'm going to ask you to do is send a delegate or a couple of delegates down to be sharing your group's vision. Tell us all a little bit about what you have brought out of that discussion of what you want your PLC to do. Any questions that you have that seem to have been driving the conversations, or comments that you had that were driving the conversation, please share. Dustin and I, Dustin, wave your hand. You met Dustin as you came in the door. Dustin is an environmental earth science student here at Eastern and works in my office at the Institute for Sustainable Energy. He is our administrative assistant through this whole process. So he is going to be in one of his tasks capturing the thoughts that you put on there, so that will go to live on the blackboard. So those ideas that you put down on paper will be shared for all and up on the blackboard. Okay, so who wants to be our first sharer-outer? Come on down, Terry. And your PLC is resources?
Okay, hi everybody. What we discovered in resources was that we really weren't sure what we were going to do in resources. So it was a great collaboration, excellent conversation, because we all shared what was our perspective on what is the resource group going to do, because we weren't doing yards and we weren't doing gardens. So here were some of the ideas that we came up with through our discussions. So, and group, anyone chime in if I'm not getting it right in terms of my paraphrasing here. So we said developing concrete units, programs, projects that can be implemented in our schools, learning from others concerning what they are doing in terms of resources, how we are using our outside spaces. We really, why and how are we green schools in terms of our sustainability? Why should we be green schools? Creating sustainable solutions to the community problems. Then we started discussing the whole aspect of Connecticut's forward motion with NGSS. So we looked at the engineering aspect within the new standards. We'd like to create a list of best print and digital resources across, again, this pre-K-12. Employ information literacy to determine the accuracy and pedagogical appropriateness. It's creating sort of a rubric or an evaluation tool. So we see all those things online, whether or not they're truly useful. Are they just worksheets, or are they crossword puzzles, or they're a coloring book? Just making sure that they are meeting our educational needs. So that was a little bit of what we discussed. And my other PR piece was, has anybody seen the video, Solar Freaking Roadways? If you have not seen it, Google Solar Freaking Roadways. It is amazing. So that was something we also talked about for sustainability. So anyway, there we go.
Leave that with Dustin. That was Solar Freaking Roadways. It is astounding. It was running around on Facebook this week. So our next group, come on down. And we have gardens.
You want me to hold the other one or what?
Oh, sure. Teamwork.
Yeah, we're a big group. This is a big enthusiastic group, so I'm glad to be a part of it. And I would imagine that this is going to have some overlay with the outdoor learning space group too. So advice about gardening and environmental education, how to manage the garden space, planting it, scheduling people to come work in it. What are the next steps? Where are you in the project, and how is that going to work out? What do you do after you do the first thing? using the garden space. What is your plan for how it's going to be used, and how students will use it, and will the community be involved in it, that type of idea. What are your community support systems and resources and funding, and what literature resources are out there so there can be curriculum connections to your school garden? What is already out there? How do we make it fit in with our own schools in the curriculum? Share ideas. We want to share ideas with each other. We want to be able to create an area on the blackboard so that we can have virtual tours of each other's gardens, and maybe like Pinterest type ideas, collect things that you see out there and be able to share that with each other. Ideas for how to care for the garden. There was a suggestion on having theme gardens, like a lot of schools focus on food. This one person was interested in their flower garden, a pollinator garden, inquiry garden. More ways to put the garden into the garden and the curriculum together. And the big one, fundraising to get your garden started and maintained.
Thank you very much. If you could leave those up with us. And the schoolyards.
Okay, so we did Schoolyards. Our group, we had amazing flow of responses, lots of good ideas. How do we utilize our outdoor classroom space, exploration of specific environments, incorporating outdoor classrooms and management into the curriculum? We're wondering about how to manage our classrooms when we're working outside. That's really important. Learning how to integrate the outdoor experiences into academic mandates that we have within our schools. High quality books related to the curriculum, expanding on lessons, enrichment programs to build on current practices that we're already doing, comparing school grounds to one another, field trips, Skyping, different ways, like the other group had just mentioned. And learning how children can bring the learning of the school grounds and what they're learning at school into their homes to share with their families, a good homeschool connection. Collaborating with colleagues, fostering the ability for children to wonder and inquire, negotiating rules, safety concerns and policies, educating families on the benefits of outdoor education and involvement, differences with urban schoolyards, what we can do with them, schoolyard habitats, involving students in creating their own schoolyard, so they're actually coming up with ideas and planning what they want to create in their own schoolyards. How do we engage a more diverse community in our environment? So just increasing the diversity in our schools, and identification of native species of animals or birds, different insects, anything you might see, because Laurel came up with something and she said, if you don't have a word for it, you don't even see it. Right? So, and citizen science projects in the schoolyard. Did I forget anything? That's pretty good.
You can give that to Dustin up at the top. You can give your list up to Dustin when you get up to the top. Okay, so several observations on this. You've got your work cut out for you if you want to do those things. They're all incredibly rich and fabulous, and will make your kids remember that year. Okay, every one of those pieces that you put in there, that's going to be you. Every one of you here in a room is a teacher. You've got some great teacher in your background, because that's part of what put you in this seat. What did you do in that room? It wasn't flashcards. It wasn't, I don't know, math facts. It wasn't something dull and dry and boring that was done in that year. You had a fabulous teacher, and that's probably, I think, why most of us are probably here as teachers. And you are those teachers. That's why you're in these seats. And I think that this will grow and inspire your schools to be more than what, more than what they are now, and be richer places because of the work that you're doing. Sorry, frogging. Okay, so the other thing that comes out of that as an observation is you're talking about creating product of different kinds. We want a list of this, we want lesson ideas for that, we want, you know, the sketch of what a network of this is, ideas on how to fundraise or whatever. All of those products that you're talking about that'll support your PLC can also support other schools. And then those other schools can help support you in the thoughts that you're doing. So the product that we're building out of this, so any of your lesson ideas that add on to the curricula that we're playing with, these case studies that I talked about a little bit, any lists or anything like that that you're building are going to go live on CT Green Schools, which is the host site of the CT Green Leaf information. And you'll be able to draw from that, drive other people to that, and others will be able to help enhance the work that you've got. So just know that every little bit of effort that you're putting into this enriches not only your own practice, but neighboring schools and others elsewhere. Okay, you're building quite a network and a resource of really interesting things that you'll be able to draw on. So I'm really looking forward to the next year's worth of time in working with you and helping you and supporting you in the different endeavors that each of your groups are going to go through. No idea is too big. If something comes up and you want to share it, then let's talk about it and let's see if we can make that thing happen. Okay? And if not this year, then yep, that's a next year idea, possibly. Or maybe it's a network idea that we need somebody else partnering in this expedition to get you guys to that place that you're trying to get to. Okay? So I thank you for your sharing your thoughts on what you think your PLC is going to give you. I think that we will revisit those same information in a year's time, and you're going to find that it's all that and more that has grown out of this work that you've done.